Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic.
Hanabi lay uncomfortably under a thorn tree, trailing Hinata. The cold wind and the thorns from the bush that were rudely poking her in some very sensitive places, made her wish she had actually put on some sensible clothes before following her sister. Really Hanabi, who follows someone around in extremely thin silk pajamas at 2 in the morning. Hanabi shifted to see better as Hinata was talking to or choking someone on the corner. Hanabi sweared her older sister was a demon at sometimes. If Hanabi remembered right, when she was about 4 or 5 and Hinata was about 10 or 9, Hinata used to act shy around her elders, but when they left her and Hinata alone, Hinata would pull her by her hair and fling her around like a rag doll, and whenever they went to the springs, Hinata would hold her head under the water until she couldn't breathe and raise her head up again only for her to take a breath and go back under. Until Hinata graduated from the academy, Hanabi thought Hinata's purpose in life was to make her as miserable as possible. To summarize it all, Hanabi really hated her sister. The only time Hinata showed her any kindness was when the oblivious blonde idiot, her description of Naruto, visited Neji for a sparring session, and only because Hanabi's room was directly on top of the place they used to train, so she would occasionally step in and spend the whole day watching him. Hanabi thought it was quite pathetic of someone to crush over a person who doesn't even notice you at all, even though you drop obvious hints that you like them. But Hinata had no experience with boys, which, in contrast to Hanabi who had countless experience with boys, made her panic whenever someone asked her out. Hanabi was getting quite bored laying on the tree branch and was pondering if she should go back home or not when a gust of wind threw a tsunami of dead leaves at her, blocking her view of her sister. By the time she cleared the leaves out of her face, Hinata and her mysterious figure was gone from the corner. Hanabi heard soft whistling coming at a steady pace and shifted her weight to see who it was, but the consequence of shifting her weight made the branch she was laying on crack. As she tried to steady herself and keep the branch from breaking any further, her shirt got caught in one of the thorns in the tree. Thinking on reflex, she pulled against it, which shifted her weight, which caused the branch to crack even more. And here we find Hanabi barely breathing in hopes the branch wouldn't buckle under her. "Oh, please don't crack, please don't crack, I'll burn you if you crack, so be nice and don't crack," Hanabi thought. She still could hear the whistling coming closer and started to pray that it wasn't someone she knew or that she wouldn't be noticed. The person who was whistling came into view and she saw that it was the annoying blonde that Neji sometimes sparred with. And so, once again, Hanabi began to pray that the branch would not fall and she along with it, but this ugly black cat that looked partially burnt ran right under her, leaving Hanabi with a lot of bad luck. Naruto, being oblivious of Hanabi in the tree, decided to approach the tree and he began to circle it. He stopped and, to Hanabi's luck, was standing right under the branch Hanabi was sitting on. Of course, Naruto, being Naruto, slapped the tree because he didn't like how it was looking at him. And because of that, the tree branch Hanabi was sitting on, praying it wouldn't fall, snapped and down came a cursing Hanabi, with a nice tear in her shirt, on top of Naruto. Now anyone who would have happened to pass by, though it was unlikely because it was 2-something in the morning, would think the two were doing something many would say was inappropriate for their ages. This is how it was. Naruto was laying on the floor all sprawled out with Hanabi's right leg embracing Naruto's left leg, her left hand on his chest and her right hand by his inner thigh. And to complete it, Hanabi's hair was all messed up, her shirt torn revealing an ivory-colored smooth neck that screamed, "Come place a hickey on me, you know you want to," and she was breathing quite hard, which made her look like a damsel in distress. Naruto laid unmoving and looked dazed. His eyes wide in focus on Hanabi's eyes. So many thoughts ran through his mind, and the fact that she was wearing thin silk pajamas that stuck to every curve on her body, were not making them good thoughts. So, the two just stayed there unmoving, pale eyes looking into pretty blue ones. To add to their luck, Kakashi just happened to be on patrol and just happened to be walking down their street when he saw the two people in their position. He closed his Ika paradise and stood over the two saying, well, what do we have here? Quote. Naruto snapped out of his daze and looked up to see Kakashi looking back at him. Well, Kakashi asked, glancing from Naruto to Hanabi at back. The two on the floor looked at each other, then at Kakashi, and said, I think I can explain. They both tried to explain, disentangling themselves. I understand, Kakashi said, grinning. Next time you want to explicitly express your love to one another, do it in the privacy of a bedroom. And Naruto, I thought you didn't like the young ones. Kakashi easily ducked the tree branch thrown at him and then grew serious. What were you two doing out here? He asked, donning his famous bored expression. Well, Kakashi raised a hand, silencing both. One at a time. Naruto, you go first. Kakashi said. Well, you see, what had happened was, I was making ramen and my teapot caught on fire. Yeah, that's it, and I tried to get water but I forgot nobody paid the water bill for me, so I had no water. In a panic, I threw the flaming teapot out the window, but it hit a cat and the cat caught on fire. So I chased after the cat, and when I put out the flames I decided to take the long route back home and ended up here, then she fell on me. Naruto grinned at Kakashi. You have to be a complete dumbass to fall for that. Hanabi muttered. Okay, Kakashi said with a nod. Hanabi bit on her tongue to stop her from saying something to the copy ninja that she would later regret. And what about you? Kakashi asked, nodding his head in her direction. Hanabi pulled up her shirt to try and cover the parts of her that were visible. Well, Kakashi asked again. Hanabi couldn't think of anything to say. And she really didn't want to tell the Junin why she was really out here. So she used the easiest lie excuse. What's the difference? She could have come up with. I was doing a special type of Hyuga training that enhances my tracking skills. Hanabi said as calmly as she could. Kakashi looked at her with his one visible eye and cracked a small smile. Kakashi, thinking he could pay off his debt to Tsunade-sama and make Naruto miserable, decided to let them go but tell them a believable lie which would make their lives miserable and his life stress-free. Mostly he wanted to make Naruto miserable because Naruto told Iruka about the hidden cameras Kakashi had installed inside of Iruka's shower. Well, I could tell your father about this, and from what I hear, he has you on a tight leash, Kakashi said, looking at Hanabi, who tensed immediately, and I could tell Iruka or Jiraiya to not pay your water bill. Big meanie, Naruto mumbled. Hanabi, who was thinking of the punishments her father could give her if he found out, pleaded to Kakashi saying, please don't tell my father. Naruto, seizing the chance to plead along with Hanabi, shouted, I need to bathe, Kakashi-sensei. It's been 3 days. Hanabi grimaced and took 2 steps away from the blonde. Kakashi stood calmly, staring at the two teens, which was intimidating and creepy because they could only see one eye. Well, I decided I won't tell your father and I might let Iruka pay your water bill, but under one condition though. What? Both exclaimed. You have to clean Tsunade's office, which also consists of sorting and filing all documents in the proper cabinets. I'll do it, Hanabi said, eager to avoid any problems with her father. Naruto, on the other hand, had to think about this. Tsunade's office was a real mess and people really didn't notice it because she hid everything with genjutsu. Well, all 2 of you must agree. Naruto, Kakashi said, looking in his direction. Naruto looked at the Hyuga calmly staring at him, face expressionless. Naruto figured that she was most likely worried and hiding it. He had heard how cruel Hyugas can treat their own and felt sorry for Hanabi and said, I'll do it. Kakashi grinned, alright, meet me here approximately 7 a.m. And with that, he strolled off with Ika paradise in hand. Naruto, grinning at Hanabi, said, get ready to work, you're off tomorrow. He walked off whistling, wind ruffling his hair as he disappeared in the shadows. Hanabi looked up in the sky and asked, how bad can it be? She watched a black cloud cover the moon from her view and returned home. Where have you been, Hanabi? Hiyashi demanded. Hanabi felt a paralyzing fear settled on her as she stared at her father. She felt like slapping herself thinking back on how careless she was in sneaking back to her own house. Sure enough, Hanabi had gotten inside without disturbing anybody or alerting the guards. But she didn't make sure that her father was asleep before she left, which was one big mistake because she met him sitting on the staircase waiting for her. Hanabi calmed herself and tried to think of another lie, but she was coming up with blanks. So she decided to borrow a lie. Well, what had happened was that the teapot had caught on fire and— "Don't lie to me, Hanabi!" Hiyashi shouted. "Damn, I thought that would have worked," Hanabi thought. "So where were you, Hanabi?" Hiyashi demanded again. Hanabi, thinking that this was all Hinata's fault, decided to kill two birds with one stone and get both of them in trouble. You see, I went with Hinata to the little 24/7 garment store down by the creepy Chinese restaurant, to buy some orange and black knee socks along with some bras and pantyhose. I went tonight because it was only a midnight to 2 in the morning sale. We would have asked you to join us, but I didn't think that you would have wanted to go in a store asking for pantyhose, bras and such." Hanabi told him. "Is this true, Hinata?" Hiyashi asked his eldest daughter, who was standing in the hallway. Hanabi turned around to see Hinata standing in the hallway wearing a nightdress and looking quite sleepy. Hanabi figured that Hinata was either hiding what she was really wearing with genjutsu or reached home before she did changed and woke up their father. With her back facing her father, Hanabi quickly mouthed to Hinata to help and play along. Hinata nodded at Hanabi and walked next to her. Hanabi then turned around to face her father again. "Well," Hiyashi asked. "FFA father," Hinata stuttered, "she's telling the truth." Hiyashi looked at Hanabi, who was focusing on a dead roach on the floor, feeling relieved and shocked that Hinata actually helped her. "But," Hinata continued, "that was yesterday." Hanabi glared at Hinata, who was glaring back at Hanabi, smirking. Hanabi's eyes dilated at her sister in shock of her betrayal. Hiyashi, who looked like he was about to strangle his youngest daughter, calmed and said in a subtle voice, "The both of you go to bed. Hanabi, I will deal with you tomorrow, and Hinata, I'd like to see you before you leave in the morning." Hiyashi retreated back to his room, leaving behind his two daughters to think about what punishment he was going to give them. As Hanabi started towards her room, she glared back at her sister. "Why did you do that?" Hinata replied, "I saw you with Naruto-kun. So what? I have to waste the rest of the day with him, thanks to you." Hinata stared at her sister and asked in a dangerous voice, "What do you mean you have to spend the rest of the day with him?" Hanabi argued back, "If you hadn't sneaked out of the house, I wouldn't have." Hanabi paused, remembering that her sister was obsessed with the blonde idiot. She then smirked at Hinata for a while, and then her smirk slowly turned into a devious smile. Hanabi was formulating a plan to get back at her sister. She had a feeling that she was going to enjoy making her sister jealous and envious of her. "Well," Hinata asked, looking paranoid, "aren't you going to finish?" "No," Hanabi said, still smirking. "Me and Naruto's business is none of your own, and since I'm seeing him early, I ought to get to bed. See you whenever we finish our business." Hanabi turned and left to go to her room. "Hanabi, where are you going?" Hinata asked. "Come back here and finish explaining." Hanabi just ignored her sister and continued on her way to her bedroom. "Hanabi, I'm talking to you," Hinata shouted. "Get back here." Hanabi slammed her door shut, leaving her sister to ponder on what she just told her. Hanabi laid down in the bed thinking she'd have to be up extra early to avoid her father before he could hand down his punishment on her. Hanabi was half asleep when she heard several thuds on her door and heavy footsteps running down the stairs. Hanabi dismissed it and rolled over on her side. She then drifted off to sleep. 2 hours later, Hanabi opened her room door to see several butcher knives sticking out of her door. She stared in the door thinking, "Father is going to throw me in that well when he sees this. All the better to hurry up and leave before he wakes up." She then flicked the handle of the nearest knife and watched it wobble. After playing with the knives, Hanabi made her way to the bathroom to get ready. As she was closing the bathroom door, another knife whizzed past her head and landed neatly in one of the shower tiles. She locked the door and shouted, "It seems that you're drowning in jealousy. You would have gotten me in the head if you weren't so eyed." It was quiet for a while, then there were several more thuds on the door and an aggravated shout. Hanabi laughed, jumped in the shower, jumped out, dressed in the bathroom, and then climbed through the bathroom window to leave before her father could catch her and to meet the blonde and the stupid Junin for their assignment. Hanabi stood under a tree trying to get shade, while the burning sun sent deadly heat waves toward everything in its path. She wiped away a bead of sweat from her forehead and stepped closer toward the tree. "Hey," Hanabi turned towards the voice. The ever-smiling blonde, wearing a small black shirt and orange pants, jogged up next to her and joined her in the shadows of the tree. "It's quite hot, isn't it? Where's Kakashi-sensei?" the blonde asked cheerily, as if the intense heat wasn't bothering him. "He hasn't arrived as yet," Hanabi replied coldly. The blonde hummed and collapsed next to her. Hanabi used the rest of her time examining the blonde next to her. "Look at him," she thought, "that ugly blonde hair, those creepy blue eyes, that nasty tan skin, those disgusting muscles that flex themselves every time you take a breath." She quietly sneered at him. Naruto, unknowingly, stretched it in the cutest manner ever, showing Hanabi a perfect view of all the muscles that was hidden in the orange jacket he was wearing earlier that morning. "Oh my gosh, he's gorgeous." Hanabi blushed. Naruto noticed Hanabi staring at him and asked, "What are you looking at?" "Something on my face." Hanabi sneered at him in reply, "Your ugly face." Naruto let out a loud laugh, "I'm ugly? Ha, I have been told by numerous people that I'm quite." Hanabi could believe that statement. "The problem here is," Naruto continued, "that you're the ugly one and you're trying to pin your ugliness on me. You're just an ugly bastard in my opinion." Hanabi gave him a cold stare and said, "The only people who would find you as gay people. A perfect example would be Uchiha Sasuke. He was gay to the extreme. He thought of you as. And from what I heard, he was obsessed with freaks of nature. That's why he was always with you." "What? Were you saying something?" "I wasn't listening for a second. I was watching the leaves dance," Naruto said as if he wasn't listening. "I swear, you Hyugas are so conceited that you just love to hear yourself talk." Hanabi turned toward him and said, "You know damn right you heard me. Freak of Konoha." Naruto's face saddened for a few seconds, then it hardened. He stood up, looked Hanabi in the face and said in a truculent tone, "Don't ever call me a freak. If you don't know anything, keep your damn mouth shut." Hanabi started to say something but closed her mouth, an ominous aura coming off of the blonde. Naruto stepped closer to Hanabi, so their faces were mere millimeters apart. Voice just barely above a whisper, Naruto said, "The only thing I hate more than someone teasing me is an arrogant, ignorant, snobbish, conceited, ugly, ghostly white, pale-eyed proud-assed Hyuga." He then placed a firm grip around her neck and sneered, "I could kill you if I want and nobody'll know what happened." Hanabi started to tremble. She looked in his eyes and saw a faint hint of red quivering behind blue eyes. A sick feeling of fear ran through her. Placing a weak grip on Naruto's neck, she shakily replied, "I'm not afraid of you." Naruto snorted and took a closer step, pinning Hanabi to the tree. Summoning any courage from within her body, Hanabi screamed at the top of her lungs, "Rape! Rape!" Kakashi appeared from nowhere. "Rape? Is there something I should know or document for future references?" Naruto jumped back, releasing Hanabi, and was about to heatedly deny any accusations, but Kakashi raised a hand. "You have better things to worry about." He looked toward the stricken Hanabi, who was leaning against the tree for support, and said, "Sorry I'm late, I was chased and almost pecked to death by a bunch of pigeons." Hanabi, standing on her own now, gave the ninja a "you expect me to believe that crap" look. Hanabi glanced at Naruto, who appeared to be back to his regular smiling state, ominous aura gone. Kakashi approached the two of them and said, I do hope you two are ready to work. I'll assist whenever I can. Hanabi asked, exactly what are we going to clean at the Hokage's office? Kakashi, grinning, replied, you'll know when we get there. And Naruto, I need you to give Jiraiya something for me. I would do it myself, but you're the only one who knows where he is right now. Also, tell him Tsunade-sama has Hunter Ninja looking for him. He's always on the move. Naruto looked at Kakashi as if his head was dangling by his ear. Ero Sennin, you expect me to go to where he is staying? Ha, you wish, Kakashi-sensei. Every time I go there, some floozy tries to rape me. I refuse to step foot in that house of ill repute. Kakashi grinned at Naruto. He must have known Tsunade-sama was looking for him. Bekasu, that'll be the last place she'll look. Naruto grimaced and Hanabi rolled her eyes. Kakashi then led them off toward the Hokage's office. Hanabi stood across from the two guards that were standing in front of the door that lead into the Hokage's office, waiting on Kakashi to tell her to come in. She wanted to know what's so special with Naruto that he had to go inside with Kakashi, and she stayed out. The door cracked open and a hand holding an orange book poked out, ushering her to come inside. The guards stepped aside and she walked in. The first thing that came to her mind was that this was going to be easy. The only thing that was in the room was a single stack of papers on the Hokage's desk. Hanabi glanced at Naruto, who was at ease in one of the chairs placed in front of the desk, and Kakashi was standing at the door reading his orange book. Hanabi glanced at the Hokage and instantly felt afraid. This was the first time she ever saw the Hokage in person. Blonde hair, kinda tall, and a stern face. Yep, Hanabi thought, this is no lady to mess with. Tsunade studied the young Hyuga that was looking at her. She then leaned on her desk, propping her chin with her hands. Hyuga, Hanabi, I presume? She asked. Yes, Hokage-sama, Hanabi said while bowing, not forgetting her manners. So I hear you and Naruto are going to clean my office. Tsunade started. I'm not going to be here to watch you, so I would like to see it in order and nothing missing when I return. Standing up while cracking her knuckles, Tsunade said, if I find that anything is missing upon my return, you and Naruto will face dire consequences. Hanabi was having a hard time keeping herself calm and not shaking with fear. She nodded at what Tsunade just said. Dire consequences, Tsunade repeated. She punched the wall to enforce her point and Hanabi jumped. Naruto let out a snort saying, ha 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 ha, you're scared of Oba-chan. Tsunade glared at Naruto and he immediately shut up. She removed her hand from the wall, showing the small crater she had created. Hanabi, wide-eyed, took a step away from the Hokage, who was now walking towards the door. Come on, Kakashi, the Hokage said, let's play a game of poker while they clean my office. I don't think so. I lost the last time, came Kakashi's reply, still reading his orange book. Oh well, Suon said, walking out the door. The stakes were going to be how and where Iruka spends his week vacation starting tomorrow. Kakashi immediately shut his book and followed the Hokage out the door, saying, on second thought, I do have a little time. The door shut behind him, leaving Naruto and Hanabi alone in the room. Hanabi walked towards the Hokage's desk and examined the single sheet of paper placed on Tsunade's desk. She picked it up and read it. I'm placing you in charge of this mission, Hyuga Hanabi. I expect everything to be cleaned inside and out and be put back in place upon my return. After you and Naruto finish cleaning, try to persuade him to take some pills I have hidden under my desk, or, an alternative to the pills, I have a needle injection right next to the pills. Good luck trying to wrestle him down if you choose the needle. He has to eat first. Do not let him see this note. In fact, dispose of it once you read this. In Rimber, there are dire consequences if you fail to clean my office. P.S. Get him to take those pills, by all means necessary. He will refuse to take them. The fifth Hokage of Konoha. Hanabi tore the note in half and threw it in the garbage. She started to walk towards the stack of papers behind the desk when she noticed that Naruto was watching her and had been since she stepped in the office. She stopped and turned to face him. "What?" she asked him. Naruto looked at her with big blue eyes and said, "Nothing. I just don't like you." Hanabi said, "And I don't like you, but this office has to be cleaned. So, let's just call a truce for time being so we can get this office cleaned before the Hokage comes back." "So, truce or not?" Naruto leaned back in his chair and pondered if he should just duck out and leave her with all the work, but Tsunade might come looking for him if he left. "Think of it in this sense," Hanabi started, "if you help me clean this office, you won't have to see me again." Hanabi watched as Naruto smiled at what she just said. Naruto walked towards Hanabi and extended a hand signaling a truce. Gingerly, she shook his hand. Hanabi divided the room in half so she could work on one side and Naruto on the other. And so they worked separately for most of the morning in silence, not even looking at each other. Hanabi, after 3 long hours, placed her final stack of papers neatly in a corner and turned around in time to catch Naruto stuffing a few papers under the carpet. "Naruto, you!" Hanabi shouted. "Oh, shut the hell up, she won't notice." Naruto shouted back at her. "Yes, she will, and she's gonna." Hanabi was interrupted mid-rant by knocking. Naruto opened the door to reveal a blushing Hinata with food. Hanabi walked from behind Naruto to see who it was. Hinata stared in shock as she saw her sister standing next to Naruto. Nabai turned to Naruto and coldly asked, "What is it doing here?" Naruto winced at that comment and Hinata frowned and stuttered. Kakashi-sensei asked me to bring Naruto-kun some lunch." "Why, thank you, Hinata," Naruto said as he took the lunch from her, causing Hinata to blush. He was about to open it and eat it when Hanabi snatched it from him and ran to the window. Naruto started towards her but stopped when Hanabi pushed her left hand out the window, which was holding the food. Naruto thought about the idea of tackling her to get it, but she could drop it if he got her. So he decided he would try to reason with her. "You really wouldn't do that, right?" Naruto asked cautiously, his stomach growling. "Sure I would," Hanabi replied. "But I'm really hungry," Naruto whined. Hanabi was enjoying every moment of this. She loved to watch people beg. "Well, I'm not," Hanabi replied smirking. Hanabi, please just give it to him." Hinata pleaded. "He'll get it as soon as you get your ass out of here and he finishes what he has to do." Hinata stiffened and turned to leave the room, stumbling over a vase with a daisy on it on her way out. Hanabi was so concentrated on watching Hinata leave that she forgot all about Naruto. Naruto approached Hanabi from behind and wrapped his left hand strongly around her slender waist and pulled her from the window. With his left hand holding her steady, he used his right arm to grab the hand that was holding his food. Hanabi struggled to break free, but Naruto tightened his grip on her. "Get your hands off of me!" Hanabi shouted while struggling to keep the food in her hand and out of his reach. "Get your hands off my food!" Naruto shouted, trying to get the food from Hanabi. Since he was making no progress, he decided to play dirty and blow in her ear. Hanabi stilled when she felt his breath in her ear. The feeling of his heated breath in her ear sent a foreign feeling down her spine that caused her to shiver. And at that moment the door opened to reveal Hinata standing in the doorway looking down at the ground, muttering that she had forgotten her bag. Naruto and Hanabi froze in their position, hoping that Hinata wouldn't look up and see them. Hinata picked up her bag and, head still down, started toward the door, but she looked up as she was leaving and saw what looked like Naruto embracing Hanabi. Hinata gasped and stared in shock at Hanabi and Naruto. What or why, you doing?" she stammered. I can explain," Naruto said, letting go of Hanabi, causing her to fall on the floor. He then started toward Hinata. Hinata backed up toward the door, anger boiling inside of her. Hanabi braced herself against the wall to keep herself from falling. Hanabi stared at Naruto, who was looking at Hinata, who was glaring at Hanabi. An awkward silence filled the room. Hinata picked up her bag and left the room. not before looking back at Hanabi, who was smirking at her. Hanabi then slid down to the floor, still feeling dazed about what Naruto had done to her. Naruto resumed cleaning his part of Tsunade's office in the awkward silence that lingered in the air. The food lay forgotten on the ground next to Hanabi. After about a minute or so, Hanabi got up and sat on the other side of the room away from Naruto. She then began to think about what had happened a few minutes earlier and why she felt thrilled when Naruto breathed in her ear. Naruto, on the other hand, was thinking how to explain to Hinata what had happened. He really wanted to stay her friend because she always looked out for him. He knew she liked him, but he didn't like her the same way she liked him. He wasn't as stupid as everyone thought him to be. He was aware that she was obsessed with him and he really didn't want to ruin his friendship with her. "You know your food is going to get cold," Hanabi said, breaking the silence. Naruto almost forgot that she was still in the room with him and replied, "I'm not hungry anymore." "So you're just gonna let it waste?" "Might as well. I'm not gonna eat it." Hanabi got up from where she was sitting, picked up the food, and walked in front of Naruto. Naruto looked up to see Hanabi's expressionless face staring down at him. "What do you want?" he asked, now annoyed at her. Hanabi dropped the bag with the food in front of Naruto and said, "Eat." "What? Eat the damn food," Hanabi shouted at him, her temper rising because she had just remembered that she was in trouble with her father. "What for? If you don't eat, I get in damn trouble." "What for?" Naruto snapped. "Hokage-sama instructed me to tell you to take some pills help strengthen your body," Hanabi said, conveniently leaving out the needle injection part. She then digged around in her pocket and pulled out a yellow bottle with pills and handed it to him. Naruto snatched them from her, a little embarrassed that Tsunade told her about his pills, which he hated because they had side effects that reacted as soon as he took them. He didn't want to take them in front of Hanabi because it could and most likely would lead to embarrassing events. "Well?" Hanabi asked. "Well what, aren't you going to take them?" "Sure I am." Naruto got up and made his way to the window with the food, muttering about needing fresh air to eat. Hanabi, who was warned that he would show resistance in taking the pills, prepared the needle while his back was turned to her. Naruto peered out the window to see if anyone was walking below and threw the pills and the food out the window. He heard the door click and turned around to see Hanabi standing in front of the door, with the needle in full view. We interrupt this program to explain why Naruto needs these pills or the injection. Now, since Naruto eats only ramen, he would naturally lack all the other minerals and vitamins found in other food like fruits and veggies. So being the loving Hokage she was, Tsunade made these pills and the injection that supplies Naruto's body with all the vitamins and minerals he misses. For the record, let's just say Naruto has a fear of needles and Hanabi has an obsession with them. We now go back to the story. Sorry for any inconveniences caused. Naruto started to back away from Hanabi saying, Now Hanabi. Let's not do anything rash." Hanabi smirked and slowly made her way toward him. The only escape between Hanabi and the needle was the door, which she conveniently locked behind her. The window was too small for him to fit through. "Well Naruto," Hanabi started, "we can do this the easy way or the embarrassing way." "How about no way?" Naruto replied, edging away from Hanabi as she mimicked every move he made. Hanabi sighed and said, "Embarrassing way it is then." Hanabi ran toward Naruto and lunged the arm with the needle towards him. Naruto threw himself on the floor to dodge it. He then rolled on to his feet and made a break for the door. Hanabi saw this and did a handstand that landed her in front of him. He then feinted to run to her right and she fell for it, leaving him a opening to go right, and that's what he did. Hanabi did a low roundhouse sweep kick, trying to trip him, but he jumped over it. Naruto thought he was in the clear but failed to see the vase and tripped over it, landing flat on the floor. Hanabi then seized this chance and ran toward the door to block his escape, but tripped over the daisy in the vase. Naruto tripped over and fell on top of him as he was getting up. And so, The two began to wrestle over the floor with Hanabi trying to stick him and Naruto trying to roll away from her. In some weird way, Hanabi had managed to pin him to the ground. Naruto struggled beneath her, but, surprisingly, Hanabi was keeping him in place. "Damn it, keep still," Hanabi said, forcefully tearing off the arm of his shirt. "No, you're gonna stick me with that infected piece of metal," came Naruto's exasperated reply. "It's not infected, damn it, the Hokage made it herself," Hanabi said through deep breaths. "How the hell I know she didn't already stick someone with that thing?" Naruto replied, "Stop being an and keep still already." No, Hanabi decided to try a different tactic to get him to take the needle, which was her last resort. With much difficulty, Hanabi had managed to sit on his legs to stop him from kicking at her. And pinning his hands over his head, she said in a soft voice, "It won't hurt. Trust me." "No, I won't trust you," Naruto shouted and struggled even more to get out of Hanabi's hold. "For the record, you forced me to do this," Hanabi stated. She then lowered herself to his ear and blew in it, causing Naruto to go still. Naruto's face went red when Hanabi pulled him up, so she was sitting in his lap. She then wrapped her legs tightly around his waist, loosened the top button of her shirt, ruffled up her hair, wrapped her hands around his neck and positioned one so that the needle was right behind his arm, and pulled herself closer, molding their bodies together. Naruto, who was barely breathing, remained still. Their bodies was so close that he was smelling her hair, which reminded him of the forest. He was so dazed about how close their bodies were that he didn't felt the small prick on the back of his arm. Hanabi lowered her head to his ear again and whispered in a sultry manner, "Now that wasn't so hard." Hanabi's face turned a deep crimson, resembling Hinata when coming in close contact with Naruto, as she felt something warm and hard throbbing against her inner thigh. She froze and looked at Naruto, who was blushing furiously. He opened his mouth to say something but nothing came out. And at that moment, the door just happened to swing open and there were several gasps as 5 pairs of eyes stared at the two people on the floor. End of chapter 2. For some odd reason, my friend told me to put this here. Seriously, she did. This chapter was brought to you by Geico. Orochimaru. It was my birthday when my husband destroyed my summoning scrolls. Guy. But you know I still love him. Orochimaru. A Geico claims adjuster came to my house. Guy. So I put on some tangerine lip gloss and answered the door. Orochimaru. The claims told me I would have a new set of scrolls in a matter of days. Guy. I was one lucky kunoichi. Oh my, are we interrupting something? How rude of us, Kakashi said, grinning at the couple on the floor. Hanabi, what are why you doing? Hinata stuttered, as she stared at her sister in disbelief, her face going red with anger. Naruto was hers and she'll be damned if she let anyone take him from her. What does it look like I'm doing? Hanabi said, pulling herself off of Naruto. Sakura, Kakashi, and the two guards took a step away from Hinata as a feeling of murderous intent rolled off of the girl. Naruto got up and grinned at them, saying, "It isn't what it looked like. She just wanted me to take a shot." Sakura pointed a finger at him and asked, "Well, if you were supposedly taking a shot, where is the needle?" Hanabi rolled her eyes and held up the needle for everyone to see. Kakashi nodded his head at Sakura and said, "Okay, if that's what you want us to believe, we'll believe you." Naruto eyed Kakashi suspiciously and asked, "Are you trying to imply that I'm lying, Kakashi-sensei?" Kakashi smirked and said, "I'm not implying anything, just saying that you want us to believe what you said." Naruto replied, "I'm not lying. I'll tell you exactly what happened." Shut up, Hanabi interrupted, "Can't you see he's just trying to get you to say something?" "Aha," Sakura shouted, "so there was something going on in here." "No there wasn't," Hanabi snapped. "Looks like you're hiding something from us, Hanabi." Kakashi teased. "I'm not hiding anything, damn it," Hanabi shouted. "Well, that's what it sounds like," Sakura said. Kakashi raised his visible eyebrow at Hanabi. "Naruto, Are you sure you two weren't doing anything like last night? Kakashi asked. Sakura eyed Kakashi incredulously and said, wait a minute, they were doing something last night. Exactly what was it? Kakashi grinned and replied, you mean he didn't tell you? Well, I'm shocked. You see, Sakura, I was on patrol last night and I just happened to meet these two under a tree. It seems like they were about to get busy. If you know what I mean. Hinata's hands turned into fists, as she stared at her sister. Sakura looked at Naruto in disbelief. How come you didn't tell me about that? Unbelievable. I could use a drink. It wasn't like that either. It was an accident. Kakashi-sensei, I hope you die a slow miserable death. Naruto said, I'm telling them how I saw it. Kakashi said, didn't I tell you to the next time you want to express your love to one another to get a room? We're in a room. Naruto snapped, I mean it wasn't like that. So you two were about to get busy on the floor. Sakura said accusingly, no we weren't. I would never dream of doing anything like that. Naruto shouted, pointing at Hanabi, I have better taste. Excuse me, Hanabi shouted, looking at Naruto. Naruto turned toward her and said, I wouldn't. Who would be desperate enough to do something like you? Hanabi replied sharply. Naruto ignored her comment and looked back at Kakashi saying, besides, she was coming on to me. I would never. I'm not that desperate. Do I like Hinata to you? Hanabi shouted at him. Everyone inside the room, except Hanabi and Hinata, winced. Naruto looked at her accusingly, don't try to lie. You did come on to me to try to get me to take the needle. It wasn't. I only did that because you forced me to. Hanabi said. Naruto let out a laugh and said, I forced you. I was trying to get away from you. You were the one who pinned me to the ground and tried to rip off my shirt. Hanabi was speechless. He had her there. Kakashi had quietly summoned a video camera and started recording. Damn, he was going to enjoy every moment of this. Sakura stared at Hanabi and said, I don't know which one of you to believe. I really need a drink. Hanabi glared at Naruto and let out a frustrated yell, I really dislike you. Naruto looked at her and asked, do I look like I give a damn? Hanabi walked closer to Naruto and whispered to him malevolently, this isn't over. I'm going to hunt you down and then slowly kill you. You better watch out from now on. Naruto shivered and took a step away from her, you won't find me. Hanabi laughed maliciously and said out loud, I have my ways of finding people, and I just might be waiting for you under your bed tonight. An eerie silence abruptly fell into the room. Then all of a sudden, Hinata let out a howl of rage and tackled Hanabi, sending her into the wall. Naruto let out a yelp as Hinata shoved him out of the way to get towards Hanabi. The two Anbu guards started toward Hinata, to restrain her, but stopped when Kakashi put a hand in front of them saying, not yet, I want this on tape. The two guards hesitantly nodded. Naruto was about to hold Hinata down, but stopped when Sakura tackled him to the ground saying that it was between Hinata and her sister and if he got into it he would be seriously injured. Naruto stopped struggling and allowed Sakura to drag him out of the way of the two fighting Hyuga. Hanabi got up and stared at her sister in rage. She ran toward Hinata and delivered a sweet backhand slap to her face sending her to the ground. Hinata let out a yell and kicked her sister in the ankle making her fall onto the ground. She then pounced on top of Hanabi, giving her a fury of slaps and scratches. Hanabi tried to push Hinata off of her but it wasn't working. So she kneed Hinata in the stomach, causing Hinata to clutch her stomach in pain. Hanabi seized the chance and rolled from under Hinata. She then got up and aimed a kick towards Hinata's head but missed. Hinata jumped up and punched Hanabi in the face, causing her to stumble backwards a little bit, and then did a roundhouse kick into one of Hanabi's ribs. Hinata followed up the roundhouse kick with a powerful kick in the chest sending Hanabi forcefully into the wall. Hanabi coughed up a little blood and spat on the floor. Her stomach was hurting like hell and she was sure she broke something. But it only fueled her anger more. Hanabi pushed herself off the wall and head-butted Hinata in the stomach, making Hinata double over on the floor, clutching her stomach again. As Hinata started to get up again, Hanabi punched her in her back, causing her to fall flat on the floor. Kakashi grinned toward the two Anbu, who were enjoying the catfight, and said, "And you were going to stop them?" The two Anbu shrugged and started to cheer for Hanabi and or Hinata. Sakura and Naruto were into much shock at Hinata to notice Kakashi recording the fight and the two guards cheering on. Was this the sweet, shy and innocent Hinata they knew? What happened to the timid girl with the stutter and extreme lack of confidence? "Do you know how long I wanted to do this? Do you, bitch?" Hanabi shouted as she grabbed Hinata's hair. "Yay, verbal violence. Get your hands out my hair, whore." Hinata shouted at her sister. "Make me." Hanabi shouted back. Hanabi then pulled Hinata up by her hair and slammed her face back down to the ground. Hinata tried to make a grab for Hanabi, but was out of her reach. Still holding her hair, Hanabi picked up her sister and rammed her into Tsunade's desk. Hinata slid to the floor and tried to roll away, but Hanabi wasn't done yet. "Anbu guard number 1. Yeah. Sweet. Aim for the chest. Anbu guard number 2. Woo. Bitch, slap her. Damn. They should have been fighting in the rain." Hanabi pulled on her sister's hair, causing her to yelp. She then pulled up head up so Hinata was looking in Hanabi's face. Blood was slowly trickling down from a cut on Hinata's head. "Good, you're bleeding. Now this shouldn't hurt," Hanabi said mockingly, picking up Hinata by her hair again. Hanabi then punched Hinata on the nose and threw her forcefully into the wall. Hinata felt pain shoot through her face as she wiped the blood that was threatening to go into her eyes. She was sure something was broken in her stomach as it hurt for her to move. Hinata launched herself toward her sister saying, "You're the biggest whore I know." Hanabi ducked and made a grab towards Hinata's leg, but Hinata saw her hand and grabbed it. Hinata then twisted her sister's hand forcefully, breaking it. Hanabi let out a scream as she kicked Hinata in the thigh. Hinata took the kick and grabbed onto Hanabi's hair. "Payback time," Hinata shouted as she sent Hanabi into the desk. Hinata picked her sister up by her hair again. Hanabi then head-butted Hinata in the nose, causing blood to flow out. Hinata staggered back a little bit. Hanabi, using her good hand, slapped Hinata and grabbed onto her hair. Hinata held a hand to her nose, in an effort to stop the bleeding, and used her other to pull on Hanabi's hair. Hinata then sent a chakra-enforced kick into Hanabi's stomach, causing Hanabi to cough up a mouthful of blood and let go of Hinata's hair. Hinata smirked as she sent the final blow to Hanabi's stomach, sending her forcefully into the wall, spewing up blood as she went. Naruto was awakened out of his daze as he watched Hanabi slam into the wall, cough up blood and slowly slide down to the floor. He then shook Sakura so she could have gotten up out of her daze. Hinata slowly made her way towards her sister's semi-conscious body. Her head was killing her, her nose broken, and probably her ribs were busted, but she didn't care. She was angry as hell, and the thought of her giving her sister what she thought as requital for coming on to Naruto, you know, if you take out the that would sound so wrong, just made her feel excited. Ignoring the killer pain in her stomach and head, and fueled by rage, Hinata took out a kunai from her pocket and rushed toward Hanabi, ready to make a clean cut through her throat. Hanabi saw Hinata rushing towards her with the kunai and tried to move but couldn't. Her body was in so much pain that it just went numb and refused to budge. Hanabi shut her eyes as Hinata approached with the kunai, ready to strike. Hanabi waited for the kunai to make contact with her body, but it didn't. She cracked open one eye to see Naruto holding back a struggling Hinata, frowning at her. Hanabi let out a sigh of relief. She was going to be alright. At least that's what she thought before Hinata sneaked a leg around Naruto and kicked Hanabi in the head, knocking her out cold. Naruto, who was suddenly angry at Hinata for some reason, flung her on the ground and went to Hanabi's aid. Just looking at Hanabi told Naruto that she needed medical attention. Naruto gave Hinata a cold look before running out the door with Hanabi in his arms. Hinata got up to follow after Naruto, but stumbled and fell unconscious due to the head wound that was decreasing the amount of blood going to her head. Sakura had managed to catch her before she fell to the floor. Giving Hinata a look over, Sakura motioned for Kakashi to come help her. She needs medical attention. I haven't learned how to deal with head wounds yet. I'll meet you in the emergency room at the hospital. I'm going to go ahead of you and notify the charge nurse on the situation, Sakura said, and with that, Sakura ran out of the door as fast as she could. Kakashi picked up Hinata and turned to the two guards saying, I'm taking her to the hospital. Just clean up the blood stains before Tsunade comes back, I'll deal with the rest later. I would help you, but as you can see my hands are full. I'll repay you back some way. The two guards opened their mouths to protest, but Kakashi was already out the door. Damn. One of them said, I should have figured he'd dump this on us. Oh well, the other said, let's get this done quick. I don't want to be around when she comes back and sees her office in a bigger mess than she left it. The other guard shuddered and they both went to work. Naruto uncomfortably sat in a broom closet that served as an interrogation room. When he had entered the hospital with Hanabi in his arms, shouting that he needed a medic ninja immediately, the nurse sitting at the desk screamed for security. And in less than 10 seconds, Hanabi was in a stretcher and was being shuttled to the operating room while Naruto found himself on the floor. The guards had bound his hands and feet with rope and carried him to the head of the security department, who threw him in a dimly lit broom closet. And so Naruto uncomfortably sat in the chair, waiting for someone to come and cut him loose. The door opened and a lanky brunette came inside, cut him loose and told him he was free to go. It's about time, Naruto said, rubbing his wrist. The brunette smiled at him and said, we usually keep people in here for at least 18 hours before we get around to questioning them. You're lucky. Naruto shuddered. He was about to ask the lady something else, but he remembered about Hanabi and bolted out the room, heading to the front desk to ask the nurse about Hanabi and give her a piece of his mind. Kakashi walked out of the emergency room feeling quite happy with himself. Sakura had met him at the door with a stretcher for Hinata and had taken her behind the big white double doors. He had promised to come back and check up on her later. Yeah, right. He took out the latest book in the Ika Ika Paradise series and began reading. He was so close to the scene between the doctor and the nurse. Kakashi was so deep in reading the book that he wasn't paying attention to where he was going and bumped into someone. Sorry, he started, not quite looking at the person. I wasn't watching where I was going. And you're still not watching where you're going, you perv. Kakashi took his eye off of the book and turned around to see Iruka grinning back at him. Oh goody, just the person he wanted to see. What you been up to? Iruka asked him. Oh, nothing much, just watching to young ninja duke it out in Tsunade's office. Was she there? Kakashi shook his head. Oh, I wanted to ask her how long my vacation is. Iruka said. Kakashi grinned at him and said, oh, I know all about your vacation. Iruka gave Kakashi a questioningly look. Kakashi grinned even more. You mean she didn't tell you? Oh, very well, I'll tell you. Your vacation belongs to me. Iruka let out a laugh and asked, seriously? Seriously? Kakashi replied. Iruka stared at him incredulously and asked, what do you mean it belongs to you? It means it belongs to me. You see, dearie, Tsunade was bored and she asked me to a game of poker. I won and she lost. In other words, the stakes were where and how you spend your vacation. Iruka let out a feverish laugh and asked, you mean she betted my vacation? Kakashi nodded and said, guess who gets to become my roommate for one entire week? Iruka laughed and said, last time I checked you only had one bedroom. Kakashi replied, I still do have that one bedroom. But don't worry, I don't mind sharing, wink wink, the one bedroom. Iruka blushed and let out an exasperated laugh. I don't believe you. Even if it's true, I'm going to seal myself inside my house so I can't come out. Kakashi laughed and replied, I don't mind. I'll just come to your house instead. Kakashi then left a speechless Iruka standing on the sidewalk. What the hell happened to my office? An enraged Tsunade asked Shizune. I don't know, Shizune replied. Tsunade walked through her office. It was more of a mess than she had left it. Is that a blood stain? Tsunade asked her. Sure enough, there was a smudge of blood on her carpet. What the hell happened to my desk? Tsunade stood over her desk that was leaning on the floor, one side of it broken. Shizune carefully backed away from Tsunade. The woman had a temper and right now she didn't want it focused on her. Shizune, Tsunade shouted, get me Uzumaki Naruto and Hyuga Hanabi right damn now. Now Tsunade-sama, let's not do anything rash. You don't know if they did this or not. Shizune reasoned. I don't care. I want they're over my fireplace. Calm down Tsunade. Besides you don't have a fireplace. Shizune said. Shizune realized she said the wrong thing when Tsunade picked up the broken piece of the desk and turned toward her. Grinning out of anger, Tsunade shouted, Shizune, your head is mine. Shizune let out a squeal as she bolted out the room, Tsunade heavy on her tail shouting at people to get out of her way while knocking things down with the broken piece of desk in her hand. The two guards crept out from behind the door. I'm going to feel sorry for Naruto, Shizune and that Hyuga when she catches them, one of the guards said. It's sad though, they're getting blamed for the desk we broke. The other stated, hey, at least she won't know it was us. And the two guards walked off. In the gardens of the Hyuga estate, Hiyashi, what's wrong? One of the elders asked. I just have this strange feeling that someone is coming to give me a lot of grief and a bad headache. Hiyashi replied frowning. I doubt it. Today has been too peaceful and quiet for any problems, the elder replied. That's the reason for the feeling. It's been too peaceful, Hiyashi stated. Maybe it's because none of your daughters are home, the elder said. Really? Hiyashi said, I hadn't noticed. I wonder what they're up to, the elder said. Hinata's most likely training with her team and Hanabi's avoiding her punishment, Hiyashi stated. The elder laughed and Hiyashi raised an eyebrow. I'm just remembering when Hinata told me Hanabi was spoilt because she never got punished. Hinata told you that? Hiyashi asked shocked. He always thought that his eldest daughter was too timid to approach any elder. Hiyashi-sama. Hiyashi and the elder turned around to see a Hyuga guard approaching them with a grim expression on his face. Hiyashi turned to the elder and said, I told you someone was coming to give me grief. The elder chuckled and went back to sit down as Hiyashi went to talk to the guard. Naruto slightly opened the door that led to Hanabi's room. He hated hospitals. From the overly sterile white floors to the horrible pudding they made you eat. But yet, he was always in here every month. He stuck his hand in the door and waved it around to see if Hanabi was awake. He didn't want to wake her if she was sleeping. Naruto was about to close the door and go visit Hinata, but stopped when a hoarse voice told him he can come in. Naruto stepped inside to see Hanabi staring down in a cup filled with pudding, trying to stir it around with a plastic spoon. Naruto sat in the chair next to Hanabi's bed and watched her. It was kind of funny watching a person with a broken hand trying so hard to stir a cup of pudding. Why are you here? Hanabi asked, looking at him now. Naruto shrugged and said, I don't know. I just thought I'd come and see if you were still alive. Hinata did beat the shit out of you. Hanabi frowned at him and replied, you came just to rub it in, didn't you? No. Then why are you here? Didn't you say you dislike most Hyuga, including me? Why don't you go visit Hinata? Hanabi said annoyingly. Naruto got up and walked to the window. He honestly didn't know why he was here. Maybe it was the caring in his personality that made him come. He wished he could have come up with some excuse. Naruto turned around and studied the girl in the bed. Unusually pale, a broken hand, bandaged head, back propped up against pillows. Naruto grinned at her and said, you remind of me when I'm in here. The only difference is that you're more ethereal. Hanabi scowled at him and said, can you be any more insulting? Maybe. Sorry, I meant to say I didn't mean to sound insulting, Naruto said apologetically. Naruto sneaked a glance at Hanabi. She was staring into the cup of pudding, as if she was trying to make up her mind on something. Naruto sat back on the chair and waited for Hanabi to say something. After about 5 minutes or so, Hanabi whispered, thanks. Naruto awkwardly nodded his head and turned his attention toward the cup in her hand, still not sure what to say. After some serious consideration, Naruto decided he would pay Hinata a visit and come back later when he knew what to say. Naruto was about to go close the door behind him, but stopped when Hanabi called him. He stuck his head back in the door and asked, "You want something?" Hanabi looked at him somberly and asked, "Why?" Naruto replied by giving her a puzzled look. "Why did you help me? Why did you come back?" Hanabi asked. Naruto gave her a slight smile and said, "I'll tell you why when I find the answer myself." He then closed the door behind him and left Hanabi to muse about it. Naruto sighed and made his way towards Hinata's room. He was hoping that someone else would be there with him so she wouldn't ask him any awkward questions. He wanted to make this as quick as possible. He would pop in, ask if she was okay and disappear. He would ask why she did that to her sister later. Naruto approached Hinata's door. Taking a deep breath, he knocked on the door and waited for an answer. "Are you going in or not? You're wasting valuable space," a voice coolly said behind him. Naruto froze. He knew that voice very well and hated the person it belonged to. Naruto turned around and stepped to the side to see Hiashi Hyuga giving him a look of disapproval. Naruto returned the gesture by giving the man a look of antipathy. He really hated the man and his hands itched to punch him in the face. "Why are you here? Don't you have enough people at your estate to scare?" Naruto asked as calmly and coolly as he could. He didn't want the Hyuga to know he got under his skin. "It's none of your business. And obviously I'm here to check on my daughter," Hiashi replied grimly. Naruto his head to the side and in a sarcastic, mocking manner replied, "Oh my gosh. He does have a heart." Hiashi took a deep breath, trying to maintain his composure. Of all the people in the village, Hinata chose this one as a friend. How he yearned to beat the hell out of the boy. At one point in time, Hiashi was thinking of having the boy assassinated. But as he had thought about it more, he realized that it was hopeless. The boy had been protected by every Hokage in the village from the third and up, including the two Sannin. Hiashi ignored the comment, rudely shoved past Naruto and made his way down the hall Naruto had emerged from. "Where are you going?" "Hinata's room is right here," Naruto asked him somewhat perplexed. Hiashi calmly replied, "I know her room is there, you abomination. She isn't my only daughter. Besides, I might admit you into the hospital myself if I am to be in the same room with you." Naruto laughed and retorted, "You wish you could hag woman." Hiashi disregarded Naruto and proceeded towards Hanabi's room. Hinata quickly turned her head when she realized she was gazing at Naruto instead of the door. She was so caught up in her thoughts that she didn't notice when he opened the door. "Should I come back later?" Naruto cheerily asked, hoping she said yes. "No, why, you can stay," Hinata heard herself say. She didn't have the heart to tell him go. Besides, she was lonely. Her only company was the nurse who gave her medicine and she didn't even like her. She had a creepy cackle and a sinister hairstyle that terrified Hinata. "You feel okay?" Naruto asked, wanting to clear things up with Hinata before anything else awkward happened. The quicker he explained what really had happened, the quicker he could leave and resume his life. He wouldn't even be in here if it wasn't for Sakura. He would have used Jiraiya's tactic to avoid and evade. Then he wouldn't have to talk to Hinata at all. Of course he suggested this to Sakura, but she was like, "Naruto, how can you be so selfish? Think of how Hinata must feel. Now go upstairs and talk to her." So here he was, confronting with this gauche problem. "I only came to see how you were doing and to explain what really happened between me and Hanabi in Tsunade's office," Naruto said, getting straight to the point and making himself comfortable in a chair next to Hinata's bed. Hinata let out a sigh of relief and said, "Oh, I thought you came to ask me why I attacked Hanabi." Naruto shook his head and replied, "Whatever grudge you have against your sister is none of my business." "Oh, okay," Hinata whispered, face red from embarrassment. "Anyway, What had happened was, Naruto started, Granny Tsunade left Hanabi a note stating that she makes sure I take the needle but I didn't want to. I started running away because Hanabi was chasing me with the needle but I tripped over a flower pot and Hanabi tripped over the same flower pot and fell right on top of me. Naruto paused to take a breath and Hinata motioned for him to continue, figuring there was more to it than that. After a few seconds of putting his thoughts together, Naruto continued, we started struggling on the floor and by some amazing feat, she pinned me to the floor. And then she, did something and I couldn't move so she took advantage of the moment and stick me with the needle. And that's when you guys came in. Naruto nervously gnawed the inside of his cheek, hoping Hinata wouldn't ask any question about it. You're still not mad at us, right? Naruto asked anxiously. Us? Hinata asked, puzzled. Yeah, me and Hanabi. Naruto stated. I'm not mad at you. Hinata answered, trying not to sound pissed. Where the hell did me and Hanabi come from? That floozy already has him saying their name as if they're an item. I have to stop this madness before she crosses the line. Hinata thought as her grip tightened on the bedrail. So we're cool, right? Naruto asked, professing a smile. Hinata smiled at him and replied, yeah, we're cool. But I thought you were mad at me because I attacked Hanabi. Why did you think I was mad at you for that? Naruto asked, clearly baffled. You kind of gave me a cold look before you left. Hinata replied, staring down into her lap. Naruto placed one hand beneath Hinata's chin and gently raised her head so she was looking in his face. Naruto smiled at her and said, I didn't mean anything behind it. I guess I was just a little mad that you attacked her. She was just trying to shut me up. That little bitch has him defending her now. Oh, now she has crossed the line. Hinata thought. Naruto let his hand fall to his side when he saw hate and anger flashed in her eyes for a second. I mean, she did provoke you. But I'm not mad at you. Naruto hastily added. Hinata muttered something and started cracking her knuckles. Is that a new habit because it's creepy watching you do it? Naruto thought as he took a step back. Well, Naruto started, Sakura's waiting on me so I better get going. Naruto started toward the door. Naruto-kun, can I ask you a question before you go? Hinata asked shyly. Sure, ask away. Naruto answered, eager to leave. I'm kind of embarrassed to ask you this, Hinata said, but do you find my sister attractive? Naruto almost choked on the air he was inhaling. He knew one of those awkward questions would come soon. And to think he was so close in being in the clear. Well, geez, Hinata, Naruto stammered. I'd eat my left arm before I answer that. Someone please come rescue me. Naruto thought as he tried to answer her without actually answering her question. Well, do you? Hinata repeated fervently. Well, she's why? Do you think I think she's attractive? Naruto asked. Hinata wasn't prepared for that. Well, Naruto, I'm leaving now. Sakura interrupted as she poked her head in the door. Oh, hello, Hinata. Are you feeling? Well, look at that. Naruto shouted. Sorry, Hinata, but I promised Sakura I would help her with something before her guest came home. Naruto, what are you talking about? I don't have any GU. Naruto clamped his hand over Sakura's mouth, pushed her out the door and followed her. See you around, Hinata. Naruto shouted as he quickly closed the door behind him and dragged Sakura down the hall. What the hell was that all about? Sakura asked, wiping off her mouth. She asked me a question I didn't really want to answer. Naruto answered hastily. Now let's get out of here before she comes out of her room. And so Naruto and Sakura left the hospital. Hinata sat puzzled in her room trying to figure what just happened. Then it hit her that Naruto never answered her question. Feeling a sudden surge of anger, Hinata kicked over her food tray and picked up a ceramic teacup from the debris. She then threw it at the door where it crashed into the doorframe, missing her father's face by a few centimeters as he walked into the room. Hinata picked up something else to hurl at the door but dropped it when she realized who was standing in the doorway. You weren't aiming at me by any chance, were you? Hiyashi asked frigidly. No, father. Hinata stammered as her anger dropped in seconds of looking into her father's eyes. Hiyashi crossed the room and glanced out the window. Hanabi told that you attacked her. So what? I would have killed her too if it wasn't for Naruto. Hinata shouted, suddenly feeling anger boiling up in her again. Hiyashi was taken aback at the outburst. That is so like you. Hinata continued, you always put Hanabi before me despite me being heir. Who do you think you're talking to, young lady? Hiyashi shouted, matching Hinata's tone. Hinata sat up straight so she could look him in the eye. I'm talking to a self-centered coward. Hinata answered. That's right, I called you a coward. Ever since mother died giving birth to Hanabi, you've pushed me aside. I went through most of my childhood thinking that I wasn't good enough to be your child. So I worked my off trying to please you and prove to you that you were wrong. But regardless of how hard I worked, of how many things I have achieved that raised the power of the Hyuga name, I never seemed to catch your eye. And so I wondered if something was wrong with me. But then Neji showed me a picture of you and Mom, and that's when it hit me. You kept me at a distance because I remind you too much of Mom. You never got over her death. You can't deny it. You yourself know what I'm saying is true. Hinata watched her father braced himself against the window pane as a storm of emotion took over his face. You have no right to say that. I'll tell you why I pushed you away. It was because you were too weak and pathetic to live up to the Hyuga name. Hiyashi snapped. Hinata snorted and replied, that's bull and you know it. If I'm so weak and pathetic to live up to the Hyuga name, then why is your so-called true heir suffering from more damage than me? And you know what else I figured out, that you're afraid. That's why you've been so hard on me lately. You've been afraid ever since I became a Junin. You're afraid of losing your control over me, which you have, by the way. I'm not afraid of you anymore. I can stand on even ground with you now, and that's the truth you're running from. Hiyashi laughed and said, you're weak and pathetic. You've always have been, and nothing you can say can change that. I'm not afraid of you. In fact, you're afraid yourself. You want to believe those words that you can stand on even footing with me, but you can't because you yourself know that you're too weak and pathetic to do it. Hinata lay back down in her bed and replied, if you want to believe that crap you're saying, go ahead, I won't. But you wait and see, I'm going to destroy you from the inside out. Are you threatening me, Hinata? Hiyashi asked quietly, giving her his famous glare that made most people tremble. Except that it wasn't working on Hinata at the moment. Hinata simply replied, no, it's not a threat. It's a promise. Now remove yourself out of my presence. Now this pissed Hiyashi off. No one ever dared to order him around. Hiyashi slowly walked to the foot of Hinata's bed and said, who do you think you're talking to? I order you, not the other way around. Hinata smirked, from now on, it's the other way around. You must have forgotten. I'm 21 now, and since I'm heir I can claim my position as head of the clan at any moment I choose. Besides, you lost your power and authority over me when you pushed me away and embraced Hanabi. Now leave my room before I summon security personnel to escort you out of my room and off the premises. For a moment Hiyashi was dumbfounded. He couldn't think of anything to say or do. We will discuss this later, Hiyashi said as he exited Hinata's room, slamming the door behind him. Good riddance, Hinata shouted at the door. It's going to be easy to destroy him when I take over, and the only setback is that thing they pass as my sister, but I can take care of that. Hinata thought as the medicine worked its magic and put her to sleep. Hinata rolled over as a hand caressed her cheek. When will you show this bold side of yourself to me? A voice fondly said. After a few seconds the person placed a kiss on Hinata's forehead and whispered, sweet dreams. And with that the person disappeared through the window just as a nurse came in to check up on Hinata. At the Hyuga estate, this was bound to happen, Hiyashi. The elder said, smiling. It was just a matter of timing is all. Hinata has been planning this for years. I'm just surprised she hadn't executed her plan the day she turned 21. You knew about this, Hiyashi said, fuming. Of course I knew. I know everything that goes on in this estate. You'd be surprised at most of the things that go on. Her plan at first was only to force you into an early retirement, but she added a few things to her agenda. The elder said, fluffing her hair. I must say though, when she becomes clan leader she's going to break all traditions. You mean if she becomes clan leader? Hiyashi said, rubbing his temple in an effort to calm his nerves. The elder chuckled, I meant it when I said when. Her plan is almost flawless. I don't suppose you want to tell me her plan? Hiyashi asked. The elder cackled and replied, nope, but I will tell you that the only flaw in her plan is her sister. Ah, a female clan leader. A dream come true. Hiyashi rolled his eyes and headed toward his room. Damn, I intended to be clan leader for a few more years to come. I can get rid of her, but it'll be risky. Have good news for you, Hyuga-san. Hanabi winced as the overly jubilant nurse re-bandaged her arm. 5 days in the hospital had made her snappy, miserable, and bored as hell. The only thing that occupied her time was trying to figure out who sent the 2 bouquets of flowers 4 days ago. She had woken up one morning and there were a dozen yellow roses by her window. The roses startled her and she wondered who sent them because as far as she knew she had no friends and her family didn't care enough about her to send her flowers. She didn't bother to ask the nurses because she thought they were too nosy for their own good. So she dwelled in the fact that somebody appreciated her. It was nice to know that someone cared. She glanced at them again and immediately winced. They hurt her eyes if she looked at them too long. They were like a tiny sun constantly radiating sunshine. Even when she went to sleep in the night it hurt to look at them. The day after she got the yellow roses, a dozen black chrysanthemums were delivered to her door with a card that read, Die wench. She had a nasty feeling that they were from Hanada. The nurse patted her freshly bandaged arm. Hanabi had almost forgotten the nurse was there. Anyway, you're being released today. And you can take this cast off in an hour. The nurse said smiling, try not to come again, okay? Hanabi nodded her head and the nurse left the room. Cheery bitch, Hanabi muttered. She rubbed her newly bandaged arm and looked at the 2 sets of roses. She picked up her sister's card, planning something she could add and send it back. She turned it over. There was more writing. It read, P.S. I'm going to tell everyone you molest me in my sleep. Hanabi found herself laughing at the absurdity of the card. Sometimes, she really thought her sister was mentally challenged. The door to her room opened and for a fleeting second she was hoping it would be the blonde idiot she couldn't stand. He was haunting her thoughts for the past couple of days. She was kind of disappointed and quite frightened when entered the room. Hanabi couldn't say the Hokage walked into the room. She'd be lying. People, who were 5 feet 7 inches tall, walked with aristocratic grace, rumored to be incredibly strong and radiated so much power that crowds part before them don't walk into a room. They entered. Her heartbeat sped up by 1.5 miles when she saw that the blonde she couldn't stand followed the Godime, and then it dropped a notch when her father appeared a few seconds behind the blonde. She stole a glance at Naruto, saw the frown on his face and switched from being ignorantly relaxed to cautiously alert. Dawning on her impassive face, she sat upright in the bed and pondered about what they were here for. Naruto walked over to the window and glanced outside. It was an interesting day. Sunny yet cloudy, noisy yet quiet. From the window he spotted the ramen stand where he was eating his 3rd bowl of ramen for the day. He had ordered a 4th bowl and was about to eat down but Tsunade had plucked him from the stand and dragged him here. With his face hidden from the people in the room, he silently grieved for his abandoned bowl of ramen. Which probably dumped. Oh well, he thought, he'd just get 5 bowls for dinner instead of his customary 4. He studied Hanabi from the corner of his eye and images of playing doctor and nurse popped in his head. He pinched the bridge of his nose and sighed. He blamed Jiraiya for corrupting his mind. He examined the room and smiled when he spotted the yellow roses. Oh, you got the flowers. Naruto said motioning towards the little bundle of sunshine sitting next to Hanabi. I figured yellow would be bright enough to make your eyes hurt, and since you like to examine things to the point, make you go blind. Hanabi blushed and fought down a giggle. Yeah, thanks. Almost worked. At some point in her tenure at the hospital, her diminishing dislike for Naruto had completely vanished and was replaced with interest and fascination. Hanabi studied the room. Tsunade sat in the only chair, which was at the foot of the bed, with her father standing next to her, while the main actor in her twisted fantasies leaned against the wall, next to the window. Tsunade suddenly sat up in the chair and crossed her legs, immediately capturing everyone's undivided attention. She stared at Hanabi with light golden bronze eyes and smirked when the girl started to toy with her hair. It was fun making people squirm. Leaning forward in the chair she said, "So I went back to my office, found it quite clean, and told myself that you two," she tilted her head towards Naruto, "did a damn good job. But imagine my surprise when I found out that you were in the hospital and my two Anbu guards cleaned the office." She sat back in her chair. "Care to tell me what happened?" Hanabi swallowed and replied, "We did clean your office but a problem arose and the guards had to clean the office back up." "Was this problem the reason you were admitted into the hospital?" Tsunade asked. "Yes, Tsunade-sama," Hanabi replied slowly. "Would you care to tell us the nature of this problem? How it began and if it was solved?" This time the questions came from Hiashi. Hanabi looked at the Hokage and swallowed again when she motioned with her hand to answer the question. If she said what really had happened, her father would punish her when she got home, which wasn't the standard grounding but a whole lot worse, yet she couldn't lie to the Hokage. "It's my fault," Naruto suddenly said, drawing their attention. He glanced at Hanabi and sent her an encouraging smile. Hiashi narrowed his eyes towards him. "Do explain." Naruto walked from the window, stood next to Hanabi, and faced Hiashi and Tsunade. In the few seconds he took to walk next to Hanabi, he had made up a fairly plausible story. "You see," he started, sounding sophisticated, "a Chunin had a grudge against me. Apparently it started from the exams, saw me in the office and attacked me." He laid a hand on Hanabi's shoulder. She tried to stop the fight but, sadly, got injured trying to do so. Hanabi bit her tongue as he told them what really happened. She felt his fingers press on her clavicle and she nodded her head at the two people questioning them, making his story appear truthful. Hiashi knew it was a cover-up story, and was going to expose them. He nodded at them and said, "If that's true, how did Hinata end up next door to Hanabi?" "She wasn't returning from a mission, and from what I've heard, she was in that office." Naruto thought for a second, sensing Hiashi was trying to bait him into a trap. After half a second he replied, "Coincidentally, she was running an errand for Sakura, wherein she had to come by the office. She saw us fighting, and being the kind-hearted soul she is, she tried to stop it and got caught in the crossfire, where she got injured." Slick was all Hiashi could think of. "If that's true, how come when I visited Hanabi the day she was admitted and queried how she got here she told me that she was in a fight with Hinata?" "Lie your way out of that, you miscreant," Hiashi thought, smirking. Naruto thought for a second and replied, "If I'm correct, which most likely I am, Hanabi went into her wherein, I assume, that they pumped her full of painkillers, which, when used with other medicines, have numerous side effects, for example hallucinating. Am I not right?" He turned towards Tsunade. "He has a point," Tsunade replied. So far she was enjoying the subtle fight between Naruto and Hiashi, it was quite interesting. She had to give Naruto some points for making his story credible. They both knew it was false but it was fun to listen to him add twists and turns that countered Hiashi's factual points. She should do the responsible and moral thing and tell Naruto she knew he was lying as she heard the story from Sakura already, but what fun would that be? Instead, she let them carry on. Besides, from what she'd heard, the girl needed some slack. Hiashi scowled at Naruto as his temper broke free. "We both know that you're lying. Just say the truth, your punishment wouldn't be as strict." Naruto scowled at Hiashi, "I'm not lying." "Yes you are. How would you know?" Naruto countered, "You weren't in the office with us." Hanabi looked back and forth between Naruto and her father, the both of their tempers reaching breaking point. She figured if Tsunade and she weren't there in the room, they'd fly at each other. She'd give her whole right arm to watch that fight. Hiyashi opened his mouth but closed it. He didn't trust himself to speak to the boy, as he would have said something crude and embarrassed himself in front of the Hokage. Well, Tsunade started standing up. She'd had fun, but it was time for her to get back to work. Now that that's over, we can all get on with our lives. Naruto, report to my office at 0700 sharp tomorrow. And with that, Tsunade made her way to the door. Hokage-sama, you don't mean you actually believe such nonsense? Hiyashi asked, flummoxed. Tsunade paused and dramatically turned to face Hiyashi. It's credible enough, and besides, I don't have enough time to get to the bottom of this. Some of us actually have work to do. She turned back around and opened the door. Hiyashi stared daggers at her back and muttered under his breath. You said something, Tsunade said, fixing her gaze on Hiyashi, daring him to answer. Nothing, Hiyashi said, looking at the ground. Tsunade winked at Hanabi and left the room, closing the door behind her. She noticed the quick furtive glances exchanged between Naruto and Hanabi and pondered about what would become of it. Once Naruto was happy with the outcome, she thought while heading towards her office, it didn't matter. I'll deal with you when you get home, Hiyashi said, arrogantly walking out the door. Hanabi sighed when the door closed behind him. She didn't dare think about what would happen to her when she got home. She'd probably get grounded and sentenced to a week of solitary confinement. Which was a week in a dark, dank hole in the ground with only enough food to last for 4 days. The only company down in the metal cell was rats and other pests. The guards who kept watch of the hole were instructed to throw cold water down the hole every hour. So not only were you starved and terrified of the things that lurked in the dark, you were wet too. It was designed in such a way that you couldn't get out unless someone lifted the gate and threw down rope for you to climb out. She had spent a week in there before. 2 days inside of confinement, she'd had a mental and nervous breakdown. By the time her sentence was up, the guards had to fetch her and immediately take her to the medics they had on the estate. She shivered at the memory. It was at that time that she learned how cruel her great clan was. She ran her hand through her hair and jolted when her thumb brushed Naruto's hand. She'd almost forget he was there. That was fun, Naruto said, walking back to the window. He spotted Hiyashi walking on the sidewalk and wished he had some shuriken to throw at his head. You idiot, do you know what you just did? Naruto jolted and turned around, staring incredulously at Hanabi, who was staring daggers at him, temper flaring. I just saved your... Naruto replied, thinking she looked cute when she got mad. It was then that he decided to give in to the idea that was plaguing him for the last few days. No, you did not, Hanabi said, moving to the edge of the bed. You just put me in more trouble. Naruto merely shrugged and walked back to the bed, with a smirk on his face. Hanabi saw his smirk and her temper just escalated. You think this is amusing? No, it's not. You have no idea how cruel my father can be. You fool, he knows you lied, and when I get home he's going to. Hanabi was cut off mid-rant when Naruto pulled her towards him. Naruto brushed his lips over hers and her mind blanked out. You're cute when you're mad. Naruto whispered and kissed her again, harder this time. He gently pushed her head back and she fell back on the bed. See you later. And with that said, he jumped out the window. Hanabi stared at the ceiling, her mind slowly returning to its senses. Did that idiot just kiss me? More importantly, did I like it? She thought for a moment. Hell yeah. A nurse opened the door. Hyuga-san, you're cleared to leave, just sign these forms. Hanabi turned her head towards the nurse. Wah. The nurse frowned. Your release form. Hanabi jolted out of her daze and sat up. The nurse handed her the form. She signed the bottom and gave it back. The nurse smirked at her, and left. She licked her lips and went into the bathroom to change her clothes. She'd figure out what to do after she went home and suffered from her father's punishments. Hiyashi stormed through the estate like a nasty hurricane, hurling insults, reprimands, and punishments toward any random hyuga who had the poor misfortune to be in his way. "Get me Neji," Hiyashi ordered, bursting through the door of the main house, shouting at a new servant. He walked through the foyer, into the hall, knocked a vase over, and went back into the foyer. "Why the hell are you still here?" The confused, now terrified, servant dropped the tray she was carrying on the floor and bolted out of the door, heading towards the branch family. Hiyashi glared at the mess on the floor and kicked it. How dare that boy lie for Hanabi? He stormed down the hall towards the kitchens. He'd noticed the quick furtive glances Naruto was sending toward Hanabi and it pissed him off. He'd tried to keep Hinata from associating with him, even going as far as forbidding her to talk to him, but her compassionate side made their meeting inevitable. He'd be damned if he let the boy corrupt Hanabi. He stalked over to the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water and paced around the beige and black marble island, in an attempt to calm himself down. He paused when he noticed the servants in the kitchen staring at him. He glared at them. "Get out. Stop whatever you're doing and get out." The servants stared at him, trying to figure out if he was serious. If he sent them out now, that would mean dinner for the entire estate would be late. Everyone in the estate ate dinner at the same time. The head cook, a burly old woman with hair so white it matched her eyes, stepped towards Hiyashi. "Hiyashi-sama, you can't possibly mean to tell us get out." The cook started wiping her hand on her green apron, which matched the green seal on her forehead. That would mean dinner would be late. The other cooks and servants in the kitchen stared at her in awe. They couldn't believe the old cook was standing up to one of the main branch members, Hiyashi no less. The members of the main branch had a tendency to use the seal as a form of quick punishment and amusement on innocent and unsuspecting branch relatives. Hiyashi stared at the old cook in shock. "Excuse me, you're disobeying an order." "Yes, I am." The old cook straightened her posture and raised her chin defiantly in the air. "Dinner hasn't been late in the main branch since I became head cook. I've been head cook for 29 years. I'll be damned if dinner is served late because you're throwing a tantrum." Hiyashi glared at the cook and became angrier when she didn't even flinch. "Get out. Hell to the no." Hiyashi raised his hand to form the cursed seal hand sign. "Try it, Hiyashi," the cook said, drawing a stained butcher knife from out of her apron, "and goddammit, we'll fight to the damn death in this kitchen." "Uncle." Everyone turned to see Neji standing in the doorway, leaning on the door, his chest heaving. He took in a breath and walked toward Hiyashi and the cook. "Please forgive him, Mame-haba-sama," Neji said, bowing to the cook. "He's had a trying day. Don't mind him, please do get back to work." The cook made a rude noise and went back to her stove. Hiyashi opened his mouth to say something, but Neji pulled him out of the kitchen. His uncle could be a handful at times. He wouldn't know what the branch family would do if he wasn't around to deal with Hiyashi when he threw one of his temper fits. According to Hiyashi, grown men didn't have tantrums. They entered the courtyard and Neji motioned to the people who were lingering around to leave. Some hesitated, but after they glanced at Hiyashi they vanished. "Now," Neji started, sitting on a bench that was under a magnificent oak tree, "you should know better than to pick a fight with Mame-haba-sama. You know how she goes." Hiyashi narrowed his eyes at Neji and ignored the mild reprimand he just received. "It's my damn kitchen." Neji sighed and shook his head at his uncle. He'd been pampering Tenten when a servant from the main branch pounded on his door, shouting that Hiyashi was having tantrum and requested him. He'd fly to the main branch in fear and panic. The last time Hiyashi threw a tantrum, all the servants, except Mameha, were on the floor, either unconscious or writhing in pain, clutching their foreheads. He'd had to call in Sakura to help with the injured as the medic ninja they had on the estate had their hands full. After the council was nursed back to health, they'd sentence Hiyashi to anger management sessions, which did more harm than good. He grimaced at the memory. He glanced at Hiyashi, and was relieved when he saw that his temper was receding. "So what coerced you to grace us with your temper?" Neji asked quickly, wanting to get back to Tenten. He didn't want to leave her alone in her state. She was in her final trimester. In a couple more months he'd be a happy father of 2. Hiyashi frowned at Neji. I won't hold you up. I know you want to get back to Tenten. Hiyashi still couldn't wrap his mind around the idea that his nephew was married and a father-to-be. Hiyashi turned to face Neji, face impassive. Tell me exactly what you heard about Hinata and Hanabi. Neji donned his impassive face. Hinata had told Neji what happened herself and she made him promise not to tell Hiyashi. If Hiyashi found out that Hinata beat the hell out of Hanabi, he'd have her sealed, and despite how Hinata acted towards her sister, she really wanted to spare Hanabi the pain of being sealed. He knew Hanabi told Hiyashi that Hinata attacked her, but Hinata had told him to tell Hiyashi that Naruto broke up the fight. Well, Hiyashi insisted. Hinata attacked Hanabi and Naruto stopped it before anything serious happened. Neji said, keeping his promise. Hiyashi narrowed his eyes suspiciously at Neji. You're sure? Yes, it's what I heard. Neji replied. Why? The council is pressuring me to retire as clan leader and let one of them take over. Hiyashi said grimly. I need to know which one is stronger. I assumed you would know. I honestly don't know, Neji said, lying through his teeth. He glanced at his uncle and saw, for the first time, the scattering of gray in his hair and the ever so slight creases in his face that marked his age. I thought Hinata was next in line. Hiyashi sat back and frowned. Because she was the firstborn, she is, rightfully, next in line. But I renounced her as heir a few years ago. Neji stared at his uncle in disbelief. This was news to him. When was this? Hiyashi turned his head away from Neji. It was a private decision made by myself and approved by the council. Why would you do that? Neji prompted in a casual tone, trying not to sound disappointed. She wasn't showing the strength she has now. Hiyashi replied, standing up, and Hanabi had accomplished far more than Hinata at the time. So why didn't you seal Hinata? A flash of guilt washed over Hiyashi's face. One of the elders told me to wait, that she had great potential if she applied herself. Neji was glad that he did. So who are you choosing? I honestly don't know, Hiyashi said. I want Hanabi to be clan leader, but I can see Hinata as clan leader also. Neji thought for a second, and then asked. Why do you want Hanabi as leader? Because she's traditional, Hiyashi quickly said, turning his face away from Neji, hiding the real reason why he wanted Hanabi as leader. In other words, Neji said, clearly seeing Hiyashi's main reason, you can control Hanabi but not Hinata. I have no clue what you're talking about, Hiyashi said, trying to avoid eye contact with his nephew. That if Hanabi became leader you would still run the clan because you can manipulate her. Neji stated, I could never hide anything from you. You get that from your father. He saw through everything, Hiyashi said, smiling. If I had my way I'd name you leader. You're the strongest and one of the wisest in the clan. Neji smiled for an instant and reverted back to his impassive state. Hiyashi had told him that before, but Neji never really believed him. Still, it was nice to know that he could have been clan leader. I have to name the new leader at the next meeting, Hiyashi stated, walking back to the kitchen. I want you to be there, your vote has considerable weight. It's in 2 months, so stay free. Neji opened his mouth to ask a question but closed and let Hiyashi walk off. He'd have to warn Hinata and Hanabi. He'd warn Hinata first though. He thought Hinata would be the better leader. Besides, the position was rightfully hers to begin with. He didn't think Hanabi had the patience or the dedication to be a leader. But nevertheless, he'd tell the both of them. He followed Hiyashi's steps into the kitchen and was pleased to find out that all was in order. He turned the corner and walked into Hanabi. Watch where you're going, you asshole, Hanabi said reflexively before looking at who walked into her. Aren't we in a pleasant mood today? Neji said, picking up the bag she was carrying. Neji, Hanabi exclaimed. She turned her head in embarrassment. Sorry about that, it's okay. Neji handed over her bag. If you're not busy, could you and Hinata pass by me tomorrow? I have something I need to talk to you two about. It's quite important. Hanabi nodded and watched Neji walk off. She wondered what Neji wanted. She'd think about it later. Right now all she could think of and wanted to think of was Naruto. She floated unnoticed to her room on a cloud of fantasies. She fell out of her cloud when she saw a note lying on her bed. She picked it up and read it. Meet me on the training grounds. In the forest at 7. We don't want Hanabi following you like the last time. So take a complex route and stick to the shadows. Don't be late. What? Hanabi read the note again, perplexed. She glanced around the room, saw a jacket carelessly thrown on the bed, and realized that she was in Hinata's room. She must have taken a wrong turn. She scanned the note again, committed it to memory and quickly exited Hinata's room just in time to as she was coming up the stairs. Neji wants to talk to you. Hanabi told her. What for? Hinata asked. How the hell should I know? Hinata eyed the cast on her sister's arm, guilt washing over her. When does that come off? Hanabi scowled at her sister, anger boiling up in her. I was supposed to take it off an hour ago. Well, fix your face before you have to put one on the next arm. Hinata sneered. Hanabi opened her room door, her temper threatening to break free. She wanted to punch Hinata in the face so bad but was in no condition to deal with the events that would follow. Instead she decided to irritate her. You know why I wasn't able to take this off? Hinata narrowed her eyes suspiciously at Hanabi. Entertain me. Well, Hanabi started, edging into her room. Naruto popped in. We were well on our way to finish what we started in the Hokage's office, but the nurse was coming in and he jumped out the window. She pretended to study her nails, watching gleefully as Hinata went pale with anger. She figured she could irritate her some more, it was only fair. Let me tell you, he's very thorough with his hands. And he has quite the talent for kissing. He even lies. I kill you. Hanabi slammed her bedroom door, just in time, as Hinata threw several butcher knives at her. Hanabi stared at the points of several knives that were lodged halfway through her door. Where the hell she gets these from, she thought, making her way to her closet. She pulled out a kunai and started to hack away at the cast. The cast crumbled to pieces and she studied her arm. Due to a lack of exposure to light, it was a little paler than the rest of her body. She moved to get a muscle relaxer from her closet when she noticed the note lying on her pillow. The note was written in an orange ink so bright that it hurt her eyes. Nonetheless, she read it. Directions on back. Meet me there 7 o'clock tonight. Naruto. P.S. Don't hurt your head trying to figure out how I got in your room. Hanabi read the note twice, excitement swelling up inside her. Dinner was at 7, and after dinner was when her father usually handed out his punishments. Was she really going to skip dinner and her punishment hearing just to go meet Naruto somewhere? Hell yeah. She glanced around the room suspiciously and slipped the note under her shirt. She glanced at the clock ticking on her wall, 6 o'clock. She had enough time to get there. She walked over to her window. Her only problem now was getting off the estate without being noticed. She'd have to sneak through the Branch family's secret tunnel that led out to the forest east of the estate. Tricky, as the tunnel was hidden in plain sight, but not impossible. With her first problem solved, she walked over to her closet to solve her second problem, what the hell she was going to wear. Glancing at the clock, she dived into the deep crevasse of her closet, hoping to surface with something presentable to wear. She heard Hinata slam her door and thought for a second. The note she read in Hinata's room had said 7 also. She had to make a choice. She really wanted to follow Hinata and see who she was going to meet, but she really wanted to see Naruto again. Hanabi weighed her options. Follow Hinata into some forest and risk getting in some sort of fight, or go meet Naruto in a secluded place, possibly get catch and end up in a shitload of trouble. She thought, both sounded potentially problematic. She decided to go meet Naruto for 2 reasons. 1, it wasn't every day some guy said they like her and asked to meet her, and 2, Naruto plus secluded place, endless possibilities. Hell yeah, she was definitely going to meet Naruto.